Are you ready for rapid fire?
Let's do it. I can't believe it's already rapid fire time.
I know. We've got a lot to cover still in rapid fire because we did get to talk with Pete Bevacqua, Notre Dame's athletic director, today. Fielded a few questions, as you could imagine, doing a press conference today about Marcus Freeman's contract extension. I asked him why now was the time to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I wanted to do and have been thinking about all year. You know, he's our coach. I want him, and Notre Dame wants him to be our coach for the foreseeable future. This isn't about any game or any stretch of games. He is the right person to be our head coach for on the field and off the field reasons. So in talking with Marcus and primarily with his agent, Clint Dowdle, I just felt like it made sense. The regular season has ended. Let's get this done before the playoff game. Let's put it to rest. I want it to happen. Notre Dame wants it to happen. Coach Freeman couldn't be more excited about staying at Notre Dame. This looked like the perfect time. And, you know, to do it without it all being a distraction to him, he is 100% focused on Friday night. And just wanted to get it done quickly, wanted to get it done in a way that made him happy and made him happy about his staff. Again, I can't stress enough about how many of the conversations with him were about his staff, and obviously in a way that works for Notre Dame. And when two groups want to do something, it's usually easy to figure out.
So what do you think, Jess? We'll hear more about the staff stuff here in a minute. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that Bevacqua basically tipped his hand and said, hey, this is a guy we knew we wanted to sign, and it wasn't defined about – we'd already seen enough of what we need to see. You know, it wasn't – we've already made up the decision, and so I think he basically was like, well, we wanted to get this extension done before we go on a 4-game heater here. Now we got to pay Marcus
and then I got to pay even more. Yeah.
Right. And so if you knew you wanted to sign the guy, if he already gave you every indication that you were going to sign the guy, then why not sign him before these big games are played? Because if they go well, and that's what you anticipate, well, you're just going to owe Marcus even more money after that. And so to me, it kind of it dotted the I's and crossed the T's. It kind of checked off the rationale and why they wanted to get this thing done and before, you know, or why this moment made sense for them.
I mean, look, he's been around him long enough. I think he obviously had a really good feel because, you know, he was on the job for almost a full year working along with Jack Swarbrick before he ultimately took over for Jack Swarbrick. So he got to be around Marcus Freeman a lot, you know, and you'll hear some of his thoughts here in a second about some of his observations. Like he knew that Marcus Freeman was the guy that he wanted to continue to run this. And, you know, Marcus Freeman's got him in the playoffs. So, you know, a little bit of a game of poker in terms of how long you want to wait. Do you just want to get it done? Obviously, they went to work pretty quickly at the end of the season to be able to talk with the agent and really, you know, like how much maybe before the end of the season came, you know, was he already talking to, you know, to hammer out all the, you know, the details on a contract that quickly is pretty impressive. So there was obviously a lot of willingness on both sides, you know, to just get it done, get it locked up. So I think it's good for everybody. Yeah. So Jimmy, I can't answer why Pete was wearing Nikes to the game. I mean, he's the athletic director and, you know, it's his choice, I guess, you know. He made a style decision. It is obviously off-brand. So, I don't know. It's an interesting choice when you are the athletic director at Notre Dame and you're an Under Armour school. So, there have been reports, of course, about interest from the Chicago Bears. You know, and there's also the unrest at Freeman's alma mater at Ohio State. So, question was asked, does this new contract stipulate any out clauses for either the NFL or Ohio State? Now, I should say he's going to answer this question, but it's going to take him a little bit to get there. So kind of strap in here for a little bit. You're going to hear a lot before he directly answers that.
Yeah, thrilled about the new agreement with Marcus. You know, obviously we all think the world of him. The job he has done here at Notre Dame on the field and off the field. You think about the improvement year in and year out, now in his third year. If you were in my position, just to see the way he interacts with our student athletes, it's just amazing, the bond that he has created with him, the way they can relate to him, the way he relates to them. And then what he does off the field at Notre Dame. I've said to so many people, the two most visible representatives of Notre Dame are our president and our head football coach. And, obviously Father Bob and everything he's accomplished. But when you think about Coach Freeman, there's no better representative of Notre Dame. He's so authentic, so sincere. He everything that makes Notre Dame different and special, and some would say maybe harder, he embraces and uses that as an advantage and as a differentiator. So for me, and in the conversations I had with Father Bob and John Viemeyer, the chair of our board of trustees, it was easy. And to Marcus's credit, every conversation I had with him about the future and his future here, it was never about him. It was always about the program. It was always about his assistant coaches, making sure that we would have the resources to keep and to attract the very best assistant coaches in the country. And you think about the team that he has assembled, it's just a wonderful team, and the culture that he has created with the student athletes, with the coaching staff, it's special. I think we have a ton of momentum, and I know it's a long-winded answer to your question. The question is no, there are no carve-outs specific to either of those that you mentioned, the NFL or any other colleges.
And that was the question that was asked. Are there any out clauses for the NFL or Ohio State? And like I said, it took him a little bit to get there, but in the final, 8 seconds or so, he answered that. And, so from that aspect, Jesse, like Corey says, he doesn't see Marcus Freeman going to Ohio State anytime soon. I mean, so now when you look at the fact that he signed this extension that's going to run him through 2030, that there is still some volatility going on at Ohio State. And as Pete Bevacqua just said, there are no out clauses, for either NFL or Ohio State stipulations. I mean, he's staying put. It's off the table now. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's off the table.
Area here?
No, I don't think there's any gray area. And to be honest with you, I'm still a firm believer that Marcus Freeman is completely content with where he's at Notre Dame. I don't think let me put it like this. I think he is at one of the top 5 brand programs in the country, right? Like when you think of college sports and college football, he's in one of the top 5 programs essentially, right? And then from there, I think the aspects or the pillars that are important to him are religion. I don't think you're getting much of that at Ohio State. And I think education,
as I've said before, you can still go to church in Columbus, but like whether it's tied to the school or not. But
right, and that's kind of what I'm getting at is the ties to the school. I think education matters, right? What you can do with a Notre Dame degree, and then football matters. And so I think when you combine the resources that he has in terms of facilities, national brand, top 5 program,
building new facilities,
the attractiveness to assistants, how important religion is to him, how important education is.
I thought it was, I don't know that it was necessarily a shot, but at the same time, you heard Bevacqua say he embraces the things that make Notre Dame harder, like who is always complaining about,
he looks at those things not as excuses, but kind of things where I'm like, all right, well, he has a point to prove that that's not an excuse for him. And so
choose harder is one of his mantras.
Exactly. I just think when you combine all of that together, I just think that I take the NFL off the table. I don't think he's an NFL guy. And I've said it before. He said it before in interviews.
He loves in one of those. I think it was the Out of Pocket podcast last week. Like he likes working with young people and he relates to young people like you get in college. I think those relationships are a ton different in the NFL. And again, I'm going to get off topic here a little bit, but all these NFL people, man, who are beating the drum for Bill Belichick and, Like these NFL people see zero possibility of Bill Belichick failing at North Carolina because he's the great, personnel guy and he's the great scheme guy and everything else, completely ignoring the whole relationship factor, which, especially now that he is the age that he is at, and I know people keep talking about he's got a 24-year-old girlfriend, like, trust me, that has as much to do with the amount of money that he had in his bank account as anything else, like fame and money are quite the aphrodisiac. So, like that's not going to matter to a college football player because, Bill Belichick, ain't going to be going out and, throwing his own money at any of these players. But, like flipping it back to Marcus Freeman, two completely different things when it comes to being able to relate to and communicate with young college football players.
Right. And so when you take NFL off the table, what college program can really deliver a better package than Notre Dame? If we're being honest, right? Like let's put down all bias aside. For the things that matter to Marcus Freeman and what Notre Dame is in terms of a national brand, who can put together a better package than Notre Dame?
Yeah. Nobody.
And so I think that's why he's perfectly happy where he's at. That's why he signed the extension. That's why Notre Dame knew that they needed to get him done, is because imagine him walking off and going somewhere else and potentially having a national championship somewhere else. I just don't think Notre Dame and its fans could stomach that. And so I think it was just the perfect scenario. Both sides knew that that's what they wanted long term. So let's get this thing done and over with.
Let me ask you this, because one of the things that Pete Bevacqua said, two of the most visible representatives of Notre Dame are the football coach and the president. Do you agree with that?
You would have to. And I mean, when you think of
really like the president, like I would say the quarterback, the head coach, and probably the athletic director would be my top three.
Yeah, I guess so. I got
no offense to Father Bob, but we've got a lot more, we've got a lot more visuals on definitely Marcus Freeman and Riley Leonard and Pete Bevacqua than Father Bob, I would have to say.
I think this is kind of
like
one of those.
The rest of the world, like to the academic,
right.
side and that whole thing, there's a difference. But
you got to think of the international as well, the religion aspect of things internationally. So like, I think we look at it on a micro level because of the sports situation, but I think more on a macro, if you pulled it out and ask people who didn't know about Notre Dame, like sports, what they thought, I think that's where kind of the president stuff kind of comes in, education, religion, all of that stuff. So
I agree. Okay. So final thought from Pete Bevacqua on the reporting on Freeman's contract that has indicated there's going to be an increased pool of money for the salary of assistant coaches.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate, the conversations I had with Marcus were never about Marcus. It was always about his staff, which tells you a lot about him. The good news is we have been incredibly competitive with his staff, and it wasn't a question of catching up because we're there. It's more a question of, hey, do I have your commitment, me, Pete, to stay there and to respond to changes in the marketplace? And I said, yes, 100%. I don't think it's any secret that we're keeping our foot on the gas. When you think about Marcus's extension, when you think about the assistant coaches that we have, when you think about the fact that if you go outside, you see the Shields Family Hall emerging from the ground, Notre Dame football is a priority, and winning national championships is a priority. And I would tell you, I said this to Marcus, and we were laughing. We're both kind of maniacally obsessed with winning a national championship and more in football.
Maniacally obsessed with winning a national championship and more. That's what I didn't think about it at the time, but what is the and more? Like, what more is there than when it comes to college football than winning championships? I guess, maybe the and more is, being the next Nick Saban. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I took away from that bit and kind of just everything that Pete Bevacqua has said is and as a fan myself, I think this is something we should all be excited about. It's a new era in terms of athletic director at Notre Dame, and he's not afraid to shell out the money. He's coming with his money bags, and he wants to win football, and he knows that this program hasn't won a national championship since 1988. Like, it is, when you think of Notre Dame, you think of football and their lack of success in the last 3 decades, essentially, right? And so, what is Pete Bevacqua saying? He's saying, well, I'm going to bring the money, I'm going to bring the coaches, and I'm going to give you the resources that you need. It's not enough just to be Marcus Freeman, a great head coach. You need money to pay the Mickens, the Al Goldens, the Mike Denbrocks. It's the whole picture. And so to have Pete Bevacqua on board and saying, I'm committed to you and what you need, and money's not an issue, I think that's very refreshing. And as a fan, it's something you should feel very good about.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot of, not in a negative way, but there just hasn't been that much staff continuity so far. I mean, 3 seasons for Marcus Freeman with a different offensive coordinator every year. And, you've lost you lost a special teams coordinator a couple of years ago. You've lost, you had to replace, position coaches, obviously, on each side of the ball. So, some of that, just has to do with, what's a bigger picture kind of issue right now, like losing O'Leary to the NFL, losing Mason to the NFL. There's a lot less that comes with coaching in the NFL than going out and recruiting and, taking care of young kids, on the daily and all that kind of stuff. But having more resources, like we were talking about it yesterday, Dylan McCullough interviewing for the Ohio University head coaching job. Well, reportedly around $700,000 is what the last guy was making, so like, I would think that based on what Dylan, unless Dylan just really wanted to be a head coach right now, I would think that it would take more than that to get him to leave Notre Dame to go be the head coach at Ohio University. Like I like this sends just a good message that they're not just going to be satisfied and make guys settle, for whatever the paycheck happens to be. They're going to pay them very competitively. And like, when you look at the fact that Al Golden and Mike Denbrock are both making up around $2 million a year, I think that sends a pretty good message right there. All right. Speaking of Denbrock, here's what he had to say when he was asked about how the team and the coaching staff reacted after the announcement of Marcus Freeman's contract extension. Denbrock spoke yesterday after practice. Now, remember, yesterday was Monday, but the way they have set this up, because the game is Friday, Monday was essentially a regular Tuesday. Like if this was a regular game week and the game was on Saturday. So like today is actually Wednesday for the football team, because you've got a game a day earlier. So just saying that because it'll factor into what you're going to hear in this quote. Quote, I'll be 100% honest with you. I think today, led by the leadership of Marcus Freeman, was what we call around here Bloody Tuesday. We went back to work and dug in, and that's the way I know he wants it to be, and wants the focus to be on the players and what we've got to get done and accomplished as a football team to achieve team glory on Friday, end quote. And Jesse, that is blank.
To me, that is a reassuring message, and the message that Marcus Freeman has always said. It's all about the team and team glory. And I think basically what Mike Denbrock alluded to is, we saw what happened to Marcus Freeman, and I think that only makes us hungrier or more excited, right? Like, that just means that this thing is even more locked in, right? And so, yes, Marcus Freeman got rewarded, but at the end of the day, all these guys are celebrating by working harder, by continuing to push that needle and work together as a team. Because I'm sure, like Marcus Freeman has said, like, as he's probably addressed the team and said, these things aren't accomplished without you guys, right? Like, I don't accomplish these things without the work of you guys. And I think that's what Mike Denbrock was alluding to, is this actually kind of fires the guys up, because it's about team glory, right? Like Marcus Freeman got his piece of the pie because of how hard the players worked and what they were able to accomplish. And so what are they going to do? They're just going to go back to work harder. They're going to put that construction hat back on, and they're going to keep digging, and they're going to keep working harder. And so to me, it goes back to the whole team glory aspect.
No, I mean, no, that's a good call. And I just love the Bloody Tuesday in there, because like what that says is like Tuesday is your physical day and you're getting after it on Tuesday. And I think, some people kind of cringed a little bit, about I want them to bring the violence, when they were playing Army and stuff like that. It's like
No, I love that.
Football is a physical sport. It is a violent sport. And the fact that they're getting after it and they call it Bloody Tuesday, they're getting after it on Tuesday. They're not out there celebrating because the head coach, got
they're working harder.
They're out there going at it even harder and pounding even harder because it's Bloody Tuesday. And they know that they've got a big game that's going to be a physical game coming up Friday night as well. So I love it. I love it. I think you're thinking about Sunday, Bloody Sunday, Rabid Nile, Chihuahua, Bloody Sunday. I believe like that was the U2 song. Anyway, if that's what you're thinking about. But yeah, he says, wait, it's not Ireland, it's in Alabama. All right. So comment here from defensive coordinator Al Golden as well. He was asked about the value of playing against USC's passing game before Indiana. Quote, there's some things that apply, but the contrast of going from Army to USC, I needed to do a better job of getting the guys and putting them in better position. I didn't do that. They fought their bleeps off. They gave us everything they could. They made plays when they needed to at the end. The things that apply, meaning the things that we're going to call in this game, we have to execute better. Then the things that we're throwing out, we're not worried about it. We're plotting a course for Indiana for the last 2 weeks now, end quote from Al Golden. So do you buy or sell that? Going from Army to USC from 1 week to the next, having the impact in that USC game?
Yeah, I do think that it does have an impact because you go from a very in the trenches, warlike environment, right? It's like 80%, not even like 90% run, 10% pass, very physical, very commanding the line of scrimmage, controlling the trenches, good tackling, closing space, et cetera, et cetera. Then you flip it to USC, whose running back gets hurt in the first quarter, and it becomes this completely air raid. Like, that's a complete difference going from one team who like barely passes to a team that's literally trying to air raid you out over the top the entire rest of the game. And so I like what Al Golden said in that situation. And obviously, they talked about the players needed a break. There's also the physical toll that playing a triple option team has, on the body as well. And so again, to prepare yourself up for this physical, in the trenches run game, to go to a completely different kind of air raid, we're really spreading things out. That's the contrast that Al Golden is talking about. And I'll even, double down on that a little bit as well when he said, there's some things that apply, and really there isn't many things that apply because USC is an air raid offense, and IU is going to run this spread option, very quick perimeter, quick passes. Like it's completely the opposite. And I would say that IU's, the mentality you need kind of plays back more so to Army, and that's physical in the trenches, good sound tackling, violent tackling, gang tackling, covering space. Like that's, I would say there's more similarity between Army and IU than there is Army and USC. And so to go from, one extreme of Army to USC to being the completely opposite side of the extreme, and now coming back down to maybe a more middle ground, I think that's the balance that Al Golden has been juggling these last couple of weeks.
Yes. By the way, we're going to talk about uniforms in a minute, since everyone is infatuated with what uniform they're going to wear Friday night. Okay, so it's coming up. It's coming. Chill. It's coming. I'm not going to add a whole lot to that, because there is when you're playing that option, there is a little bit of hesitancy out there as a defensive back sometimes, Are you peeking in the backfield? Like where are your eyes? Where's your head? And there was definitely some hesitancy that you could see when they were playing USC again against like a much different kind of athlete, both from a size standpoint, a speed standpoint, the whole thing, going from Army to USC, and hadn't really considered it at the time. Xavier Watts talked about this week as well, that was a factor. So it was interesting. And I guess we'll just, kind of see how much they have turned the page, because they have known for a couple of weeks now the kind of offense that they're going to be facing. And again, it's going to be different. Like, just because USC passes well does not mean that it is, anything like, like USC and Indiana are not similar, like in terms of athleticism, in terms of who they have at quarterback, with any of that stuff. And speaking of which, Adam posted this one early. What's going on with SC? 3 of the 4 receivers killed Notre Dame are in the portal. The Branch brothers, Zachariah and Zion, hit the portal today. They are leaving now. They're heading out the door out there in Los Angeles. Brian also wanted to know if Jagasaw is going to be dressing. I wouldn't look for him to dress this week. I mean, as far as we know, he's had 1 practice, maybe 2, with today. I wouldn't be looking for him to add any kind of depth right now. For him, it's more like Vince and I were talking yesterday. This is more about like a guy who missed the entire season, obviously, with injury. And I'm sure that, because it was a pec/shoulder injury that he had, like he's not going to have anywhere close to, he's not going to be anywhere close to full strength in terms of upper body and stuff like that, So I think for him, it's more just the fact that he's getting in practice time this month, during the prep for these games. So I wouldn't be looking for Jagasaw to be a contributor, at least right now. Like, win a couple games, who knows what could happen down the road. Then Herrick says, weather suggesting a run-heavy game. We excited about this? He is. I think you should all be excited.
Can I give you my Notre Dame offense keys to the game, or is that a Thursday discussion?
Bring it.
I think Notre Dame has to attack on the outside veer, old school veer kind of option.
Old school veer. Okay.
And I think Riley Leonard needs to attack the perimeter as well. He just needs to break a few, right, in order to kind of – that's what's going to break IU's defenses and get into that situation that we were talking about of, do they bring an extra guy down in the box? So I think inside, you're not going to – they're going to run inside, but if you can break it to the outside and get to the second level, that's where you're going to – like, IU's defense is great. Their defensive line is great. Their edge guys, their tackles, their nose, they're great up front. Can you get to the outside on some old school veer? Can you get Riley Leonard on the perimeter? And when you're not running the ball, what can you do with your wide receivers and tight ends over the middle of the field? And I really think that's what it boils down to.
Do you think there's a greater chance of Notre Dame doing that or 2 backs on the field? They haven't really done.
I think they go to 2 backs if they don't have an answer for IU. But if their usual stuff is working, I don't see them just busting out 2 backs for the heck of it.
Do you think that they would actually, be, like little veer block, that outside veer?
I do. I think that's what you got to do. You got to get those edge guys to overcommit, and that's what the veer is made for. Guys who are hungry to bring pressure.
Yeah, like if you want to be aggressive off the edge, just go
veer right at it.
Yeah,
and I think they've got the backs to do it as well. Because if they can hit that veer on the edge and get to the second level, you're not catching them. I'm sorry, but you're not catching them.
Right. Exactly. Doesn't matter which back it is. That's exactly right. Interesting. Curious to see. TG3 podcast agrees with you. He's in on you.
Thank you, sir.
Can't say I disagree.
He says screens and checkdowns in the flat are good too. That's some of the stuff we whiteboarded earlier.
All right, let's just get into this. Like, people want to talk about uniforms, Jesse. A lot of talk about what uniforms they should wear Friday night. A lot of people are floating around this black jersey thing. Do you buy or sell that actually happening? Do you buy or sell Notre Dame showing up in black jerseys for their playoff game?
Sell 100%. This is still Notre Dame, a very traditionalist, modest school. I'll say this. I started to get into this earlier. They are going to either wear their typical home uniform kit or they're wearing green, and those are really the only two options. I
think so too.
They're
It's
not
one of
going
those
to
two.
wear these black or just off-brand. Notre Dame's all about their brand at the end of the day, and they're not going to be wearing colors that take away from their brand. They're blue, gold, and green. They're not going to start.
Not in a game that everyone's going to be watching. It's the first. It's a prime time first college football playoff game this season. I mean, they've had night games before. People are acting like this is the first night game at Notre Dame Stadium or something.
So with them going gold towels, I believe I'm 100% they're just going to wear their standard home uniforms, blue tops, gold pants. If they would have gave you a green towel, I would have said this is a green out. They would have wore their green uniforms. But to me, the gold towel was a very, very pointed indicator that they're not wearing black. They're not wearing green. They're going to wear their gold pants and blue tops, and that's going to be it.
I would think that they'll let like the captains and or seniors vote on, what jersey they're going to wear. But I can't see making black an option either.
It's just not their brand.
That. Yeah, that's right. That to me is a Shamrock Series game. It's not a home game uniform. Brandon says, why gold and black cleats?
Everyone's getting caught up on this video.
Like what's wrong with gold cleats? Like what?
Well, who's to say? I struggle with black and dark blue. Who's to say it wasn't just like the lighting of the video where that black looks like a dark blue? I don't know. Someone just commented in the chat. I thought it was green towels, so I think it's a time for you to wave. Give us
no. The towels are not green.
Peek.
This is the towel. This is the towel that was in the video today, and they gave us one after Pete Bevacqua's press conference today. And you can kind of see, let me see, like you see up there where it's got like the bracket, number 7 Notre Dame, number 10 Indiana, cool. Get Loud, the stadium. These are gold towels. They're gold. Personally, I wouldn't mind if they wore green, but I can completely understand if they just go classic uniform. Like I've heard people say that they need to wear actual gold pants instead of the mustard pants. I would not disagree with that. Like those are the kind of pants that the 1988 team wore, actual gold pants. So I would go with that. What do you want them to wear? Like you've said what you think that they will wear. What do you want them to wear? Like if you had your choice.
I'd go green tops, gold pants.
I think so too. Good luck. Someone posted a suggestion that Notre Dame wear all green and Indiana wear all red.
That would be
Christmas
cool.
Theme. Now, the problem with that, because I've seen teams do it before, I'm not colorblind, but apparently that is like torture. Like if you're colorblind, you can't tell the difference between the two on the screen. So people would be confused all night if they're colorblind.
I've just seen that because of how close we are to Christmas and it's kicking off. Everyone's like, both teams should just wear their alternates, green and red. Like this is a Christmas. I wouldn't be mad about the look. Let's be honest, but I think they got to go green tops, gold pants, gold helmets, and I think that would look very sharp.
I'm in on it. I think that would look really sharp. And they've worn some different color combinations this year. They've worn green at home already with the white pants. They wore the blue jerseys with the white pants at Georgia Tech, and they obviously went all white against USC. So this would be another color combination. Green with gold, I think, would look really good.
I love the people who I'm not trying to be mean here, but like black, I promise you, is not an option. It is not. Like they are not. Notre Dame of all schools is not coming out and wearing black. This isn't Oregon. They're not repped up with Nike where they get a new uniform every week.
Didn't the start, was it like last week? There was like a blackout or something like that.
Someone posted a fake uniform, and then that video with the cleats came out, and now It's like all everyone is talking about.
Right.
And then last night there was
black ain't happening. Black ain't happening.
Black is not happening. And then last night someone posted that they commented on Xavier Watts's like Instagram or something and said like what jerseys, and someone thinks like Xavier Watts's brother or cousin responded and said they're wearing green, something like it's crazy that like this entire show, what has everyone been waiting on? Uniforms. This
Jersey.
Entire week,
Yeah.
What is the most polarizing thing? What uniforms they're wearing? It's like, I don't care. They could come out in the ugliest uniforms, but if they win, I don't give a damn what they wear.
Exactly. Schools. There was pushback from the old schools when they wore the white pants against Georgia Tech. People were, there were people mad about that. People were mad about the all whites against USC. You're never going to please everybody, no matter what they do, unless they just come out in the classic uniform. And even when they do that, you're going to make some people mad because they were hoping they were going to wear black jerseys or something. There is zero chance, as much as we give Vince a hard time for his absolutisms, there is zero chance they're wearing black jerseys in a playoff game at Notre Dame Stadium. Like, that is so off brand. There's just no way that's going to happen. No way.
I'll give you a Vince one. I'll do a birthday suit lap if they come out in black.
You will do the actual birthday suit lap if they come out in black. Can we video that?
I'll have Naomi video it.
Father David says that I just guaranteed that they're going to wear black, and USMA says absolutism will get.
I liked USMA's comment. Uniforms are a good distressor, and that's a good point. With how stressful this week is, it is nice to think about the little stuff about like what uniforms they're ultimately going to be wearing.
Yes. Rally towel. This is the rally towel. It is not a green towel. It's a yellow towel.
Oh, man. And you know what the crazy part is we probably won't know until like 3 hours before kickoff.
Right. If that. I'll be curious to see, like what do they come out in? What are they warming up in?
Are they going to do the weeks before where like they've come out in one thing and then changed in the locker room?
There's no way they would do that before a playoff game, though. Because
I think then you get too much talk about it. Everyone loves to blame losses on jerseys rather than like what actually happened.
No, exactly. And that's why you don't wear black jerseys in a playoff. That's one of the many reasons you don't wear black jerseys in a playoff game. Indy Forever 72. So you're saying there's a chance that there will be two backs.
We can only hope.
I think you're going to see two backs, at least some. How much it happens, I don't know. But there'll be two backs on the field at some point Friday night.
Could you imagine, though, like coming out in two backs, motioning out Love into the slot, you fake a handoff to Price, you hit Love in the flat. Like, it's all there. I guess I would love to just, like, and this is just the football side of me, I would love to just sit down and talk to Denbrock and just be like, what are your thoughts? Like, what's holding you back on this two-back stuff? Like, why do you see it as being negative? Is it something you don't know enough about schematically? Is it something you're saving maybe further down the road in the playoff? Do you not trust? Do you think that the reason why you're so effective is that you rest your backs, and so more two backs means more usage, essentially? Because, I mean, we saw two backs with Ford and Aeneas Williams at some point this season, but we've never seen like a Love and Price two-back set. So it's just
that was the thing.
I would love to ask, like, what is it? Like, what is the holdup here with two-back?
Because remember last year when they were doing some two-back stuff, Devin Ford was part of that package. So it wasn't even like the 2A guys.
Right.
It was.
So they're trying to keep guys fresh by putting in two backs when they do go two backs.
Right. But there's no real threat of Devin Ford doing anything.
Right. When you see Ford and Aeneas come out, I'm not scared defensively. Right. Compared to if it was Love and Price on the field at the same time.
Price, Love, and Riley Leonard in the backfield scares the hell out of
all guys over 500 rushing yards, all guys that have like almost 10 rushing touchdowns. Like, come on. That last comment by Irish Eagle 83 is pretty funny.
Show me a buffet and I'll show you a big back.
That's a line of big backs.
All right. Well, I'm sure we didn't clear anything up in terms of what uniforms they are wearing Friday night. Obviously,
We
none
just
of us
gave
are
our
going to
expert
know.
opinions.
Yeah, if you want to call it expert. What time do you think you're going to be out there in the parking lot tailgating Friday?
So we've talked about this. Do we want to get a proper meal in us? Maybe have a couple drinks before we're out in the cold all day. But I will say my feet will be planted on that pavement no later than 3 p.m. on Friday.
Oh, wow. You're going to be out there 5 hours early, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. You want that proper meal? I think you need to just head over to the Knights of Columbus and get those steak sandwiches. I think that's the way to go.
I think game day is also factored into how early I want to get there. I want to see some of that stuff. So
I've heard, this didn't come up today, but I have heard that like they might not open up the lots until like after like 12 o'clock on Friday because it is a work day and like everyone's working and
well,
like
I've
even the
heard
employees are working and the whole thing.
I've
So
got a buddy who works on the Holy Cross campus, and I know it's different, but it's still kind of that tri-campus area. And it sounds like they're kind of shutting it down for the day. Like they actually want people to like just go be a part of the game
take it as a
atmosphere.
game day holiday kind of thing.
Basically, like it's like he was like, I don't even have to take off PTO because it's just kind of understood. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so and that's how it should be. I mean, the whole city of South Bend should be like shut down on Friday. You should have
I
one
know.
job, and that's to either be at the game, tailgating for the game, and then finding a seat to watch the game.
You have one job. Be at the game. Be at the tailgate, whichever it happens to be. All right, well, that's going to do it for today. Good stuff in the chat. As always, good stuff, Jesse, on the whiteboard. As always, and a lot of other good stuff in between. That's going to do it for tonight. Please do hit that like button if you would, and of course, rate and subscribe and all that good stuff on the podcast platforms as well. We've got 2 more shows coming up this week, and of course, Brian's got his shows as well. We've got a lot still to come leading up to Notre Dame and Indiana Friday night at Notre Dame Stadium, first ever on-campus college football playoff game. We will be there, and we will be here the next 2 nights at 5 o'clock as well, and we will talk to you tomorrow on IB Nation Sports Talk.